Well, this isn't the weather I would normally be expecting here in Rhode Island in the middle of February, but it's like 60 degrees out. It's beautifully sunny. My name is Dick. You're watching Olsen Auto, and we're gonna make the Mustang low today. Speaking of Mustang, a girl who goes to my gym who drives a 5.0 just drove by, so that's cool. This is also a 5.0, just slightly fewer cams and slightly less independent rear suspension. This is my 88 Foxbody 505 speed. We won't talk about the interior. We won't talk about the front end. Okay, I bought this car, it'll be 2 years ago in August, so barely 2 years, like a year and a half ago. I bought this car, 2,400 bucks, trailered at home. It did run and drive. It was rotted, and I knew that when I bought it. So I went ahead, did new strut towers, did a new lower radiator support because that one was absolutely cooked, horrible condition, and that's where it left off. I haven't made a video since December, and it's just been cold and gross, and then I was out of town on a business trip for 2 weeks, so didn't really have much time. That being said, I did order these springs. They're 1.5 inch drop springs. Totally forget what brand they are, but I'm sure there's something that I probably spent too much money on. I digress. I got some new isolators, and I could not get the stock springs back in because that was the goal, was just throw these in there and call it good. Couldn't get them in. I didn't have a compressor, and I didn't feel like renting one. You'll notice there are ratchet straps around, and that didn't help. That was a mess. So this one is much shorter than the other, so hopefully all goes well. Can get these springs in the front today. Now I want to get this car on its wheels again so I can put the engine in and start getting it like actually going, because I'm either going to sell it or hoon it around for a year or two. Probably going to sell it, depends how things go. But I know they're very fun cars, so I want to get it done quick. I want to get it done right. There's a lot of work that has to go, but I can't get it on its wheels until I get a new power steering rack or a manual steering rack. I haven't bothered to buy one yet. I'll do that soon. Let's go ahead. Let's just get to work on this thing. Now, I will admit, I do have to work with some level of haste because it is 2:45 in the afternoon and it's winter, so that means the sun's gonna set in like 2 hours. It'll be too dark to work in 2 hours. I did get the day off from work. Well, I got part of the day off from work that they approved halfway through my shift. So I woke up this morning expecting to work till 5, got off at 2:30, so that's cool. Let's take the hood off. Oh, there's acorns in here. All right, hood is off. I haven't seen in here in a while. You can see I tried to Bondo the strut towers. That looks like trash, but no more rust. Let's get working. Well, I will certainly say getting these poly isolators on at first is a nightmare. I tried using a heat gun, subbing WD-40, but you guys can see how it works. Kind of a nightmare to get on, but they're on. So now I guess the hope is that I can install this with no spring compressor, something that every Foxbody or, you know, New Edge, whatever, you know, they all have the same idea. They always flex that you don't need a spring compressor to get the springs in. That's a lie. If you don't have an engine in here, you are not getting those springs in without a compressor, because the idea is you put the spring in here, put a floor jack under there, you jack it up, and it just works because you have 1,000 pounds of Ford holding it down. Well, I tried this trick where I wrapped a ratchet strap around the K-member and tried to jack it down. That didn't work. Tried to, you know, simulate equal and opposite reaction and all that. Newton screwed me. That didn't work. Obviously, I did something wrong. But I really hope because these are shorter that I can get it in with no compressor, but I'm ready to rent a spring compressor if need be. So let's see if this has any chance of going in. I'm sure you've all been there. You do something you're not really proud of, but you got the end result you were seeking. That is a spring with both isolators, I hope, installed, not nutted, but it's bolted and it's in. Basically the jack was under here, ratchet strap going to that truck's frame, so it would, otherwise if you just jack up the jack would just shoot out. The spring was pushing it this way. So equal and opposite reaction. Thank you, Newton. The ratchet strap pulled that, the spring pushed it that way, able to get it compressed and in there. So spring is in. I just have to throw a nut on each of those, tighten that top one up, and then one more side to go. I don't think it's gonna go as smooth, and that really wasn't smooth. So it was a matter of using some unconventional methods to get this in, but springs are in. You guys can see them fresh blue springs. Yeah, they're a little curvy because, well, there's no weight on it and it's not on the ground, but both springs and isolators are in. Don't worry about this whole setup. Long story short, if you're gonna do springs, make sure the engine's in your car. We didn't have enough weight in the front. Even with me jumping up and down on this, wasn't enough weight to get the bolts through the control arm, the lower control arm. So that wheel is full of water because it's an old spare for that truck. So pretty heavy. Started stacking some stuff on top to make it heavier with a lot of leverage and some questionable tactics. The car is on lowering springs. Next step is a steering rack. As soon as there's a steering rack in, the rest of the suspension and whatnot can go on. I still need to buy new brakes, new calipers and lines for the whole car. So probably $350, $400 in brakes, $150 to $300 in a power steering rack, and then the engine, transmission, everything can go back in. Then we get to throw the new rear end in. Gotta just change the fluids on it once it's in the car. I'll probably do it out of the car actually. And then run the brake lines back there. All goes well. This should be a running, driving car in probably 3 months or so. Maybe. Well, I didn't think I'd be making the continuation to this video so soon. I checked one of my bank accounts. Don't know how it's there. It's probably just a pending transfer, but there was actually money in my account. So instead of being reasonable, instead of putting it in an IRA or saving for my future, you know, maybe putting it in an emergency fund, I went out to O'Reilly and I got a power steering rack for the Foxbody. Also got some protein powder from the gym. Hopefully this stuff is good. I tried the powder, just put it on my finger and tasted it. It's not bad. I've tried so many protein powders. None of them have been good except for like the Isomax Fruity Pebbles. I was told this brand is really good, so we're gonna try that. But most of you don't care about that. Got some outer tie rods and a power steering rack, and I picked definitely the wrong vehicle to transport this massive box in. Because I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't somewhat impulsively just buy new lines for this. I went to take the lines off of the old rack and they're junk. They're not worth wasting my time to put in because they're gonna start leaking. So new rack, new tie rod ends, and new lines. Obviously, I can't put the new lines in because they haven't shown up yet. Those will be here in 1 to 5 days. Rough time frame for what we're looking at just as far as the timeline is concerned. Today, gonna get this bolted up and all goes well, get this car back on its wheels. And then the next step, who knows, if I do that today, I'm going to attack the rear end tomorrow and put my new rear end in, hopefully put some new fluid in so we can have my 5-lug wheels on all 4 corners. That's the goal. So get it on its front wheels and just let it sit on the ground because it hasn't done that in a couple months. I have to grab some hardware for this though, so gonna keep working. I got the new tie rods roughly in. Obviously that's not how I want my toe to look, but gonna get that roughly adjusted, see what else I need, and then make a hardware run. Okay, so it is the next day. As you guys can see, I have the rotor just lightly sitting there. What I just did, so I took out the hardware for the power steering rack. I cleaned them up, anti-seized them, got new washers on there, so that's all tightened. And of course, got some new power tools I've been using, so got to use the big boy Cobalt electric ratchet. Way nicer than doing it manually. Did the outer tie rods, so the lock nuts tightened. It's very roughly adjusted by eye, just a quick guess. Obviously, this is gonna have to go to the alignment shop. For now, it's good. So that's all good. Now, I am missing one of these washers. So if I can stop tripping over myself here. Okay, so I can't pull it out, but missing one of these washers. It's a special washer with a little keyway. So that'll be in tomorrow, but I can still essentially put it on. I just really shouldn't roll it or go too tight with it. Okay, so the last update I made was quite a bit ago. This has been a fiasco. The wheel bearing cap, essentially you guys can see, we got the new wheel mounted. This cap, but now that cap's on that side. So it wouldn't go on all the way. The cap just would not sit fully in. Obviously that's a problem. Don't want the wheel bearing to go bad, which it might be anyway, but that's a conversation for another point in time. The wheel bearing cap has like an edge on the inside and it was too long on one of these caps, so I had to shave it down, but I didn't realize that. I wasn't sure what the problem was, but you guys can see those wheels look a lot better than those wheels. Got 17s, 16s. Those look really good. Obviously they need tires. I don't know if these are the wheels I'm gonna run, but I will say my by-eye toe adjustment, not looking too bad for something I just guessed on with that toe adjustment there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, 105 days ago, October 30th, 2022, I stated, I'm gonna fix the rot on my Foxbody. Should only take me 3 days. I planned out a 3-day weekend and I got to work. Now, first day, I got everything removed. Brought the car up here, K member was dropped, transmission came out, drive shaft, and then the second day started cutting. Now, the rot repair itself went pretty quick. I think I got the rot repaired in, well, I can tell you how long it took me to get the rot repaired because I saved photos of everything. So, November 10th, I had the rot fixed and I was slowly starting to skim coat the Bondo, but realistically, it took me 10 days to fix it. Probably 2 or 3 weekends worth of work, just slowly going at it, making sure I did it right. Now, I did just lower the car, so you can see there's a pile of trash, cut up metal, things like that. One thing I forgot to take into account when I was originally doing this was this front radiator support. So you can see we have that in there now. Look how nice all of that looks up in there. And I still have to tighten the lower control arm bolts, things like that. So much more work to be done. Got to throw my new rear end in as well. Bunch of little things. Now it's February, 105 days later, and the car is back on its wheels. The plan was to pull it into my driveway, fix the rot, put it back on its wheels, and send it back. And then I found a 5-lug kit on Marketplace, so I bought that. And then I kept buying these other parts or finding other things that were broken, and this is exactly how projects always go. And I have a video coming out about the realistic expectations of project cars, because I feel like a lot of people will buy something that's a little rusty and think, oh, you know, fix the rust and keep driving it. Well, I want to make a video. I'm going to make a video soon in a week or two explaining the realities of owning, maintaining, and building a project car. I'm going to go over the costs associated with this, my Firebird, my Prelude, basically everything I've built. I'm going to talk about the costs, what really went into it, because I don't film everything that goes into it. I spent 3 hours trying to get a wheel bearing on today. So I'm gonna make a nice video on that if you guys are really curious. But this car is rolling again. Next step, tighten all the bolts, fix the wheel bearing on the passenger side. That's a super quick process. Throw the new rear end in. I gotta change the fluid and then throw the rear end in. Put my lowering springs in the rear. That'll give me my 5 lugs. Now, none of these tires are gonna hold air, so I either need to get new tires if I like these wheels, which I'll be honest, I kind of do, or I just have to buy a new set of wheels with good tires on them. Gotta cross that bridge soon. My boy Max is fixing up the passenger fender right now. He wanted to learn some body work. I said, here, I was gonna scrap this anyway. If you can make it good, then, you know, that's a win. So looks like that's going well. I need to get brake lines. I have a bunch of other parts on the way right now. So I have power steering lines, a rag joint for the steering column, that's on the way. I have some washers and other little things I needed, but big things would be rear end, brake lines, engine, trans. The trans shifts weird. I have an extra T5, so I'm not too concerned, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully I can just tighten the shifter up or something, figure out what's wrong with it. But yeah, and then I have to do a little work to the floor pans to make them look better than they do. They're solid, they just don't look good. So a little bit of work on the floor pans, but the car rolls. And as far as major rot, this car is like rot free completely now. Like I said, floor pans could use some work, but it's pretty much even rust free. If you went to take this car apart, anything from like here forward is gonna unbolt perfectly. You guys can see that fresh hardware in there. So this car is gonna be sick, but I'm gonna end this video here. I got a lot of cleaning up to do, got a lot of other things I have to do. I do want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. We are getting very close to 2,000 subscribers, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I've been trying to upload more. I know it's been over a month, but the weather's been awful, and this weekend we had some warm days, so thankfully I was able to make good use of it. But that is all for today. Like I said, I want to thank you for supporting the channel and for watching this video. If you did like it, be sure to hit that like button. I do have a series on this, so you guys can check that out as well, the playlist, in addition to my Firebird playlist. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.